Right, we're recording. Okay, so welcome to the third of the 4 sessions on Content Builder. What we'll do, what the main focus of today is going to be on questions and how we can test the knowledge of our trainees and get a record of their record of their understanding and what the role of these questions are. So that will be the main bit of new knowledge that I'm going to give you today. Before we do that, it would be great to just review if any of you have had a chance to have a go at what we set for last week, which was exporting your presentation as a video, maybe adding some, here's Keith, just admit Keith. Hello Keith, are you there? Hello Keith, are you with us?
Hello Ian, I was on a different mode and it wasn't connecting, apologies.
No worries, we've only just started.
Okay.
I'm just saying today is about questions and testing comprehension. But before we do that, I'm just going to, we are in a meeting room, so individuals, you can actually share your screen. So to kick off, before we do any looking at anything, how have you gotten on? Has have there been any issues, any problems? Shout them out. What have you gotten on?
I had issues, Ian, which Rani has helped me with, getting on using the audio onto a slide, where you take the text from underneath and you put it up onto a particular slide that you wish to, where you want that to be spoken, but probably you said the text is only small, but you perhaps want to expand that or use it with bullet points, but I think she sorted me out. Bless her.
What was the main issue there, just as a matter of interest, Keith? What were you struggling with before?
The main issue was just knowing how to do it, basically. It was, I've never done it before, but I'd also downloaded the latest version of PowerPoint, which I was trying to get a grips with as well. So it was different to the version that I'd got. And that caused me problems. So therefore I lost confidence a bit with it. But I think I'm okay now. But, you know, I tried it and she saw it and it worked all right. Okay.
So just to clarify then, I think, Dave, you had a similar kind of query about video and getting your audio down. And I dropped you an email about that. Did that make sense, Dave?
Yeah, totally. I misunderstood when I went on the site that I thought I'd have to get our IT involved to download, but I've just ran through and pulled some off and done it directly. So problem solved. Thanks.
Excellent. So Lee, there's a note here in the chat box from Lee. I'm guessing, Lee, are you having problems with your microphone? Yeah, okay, Lee. So anyway, that's fine, Lee. We've seen your chat. Lee's saying that so let's just deal with this issue on video. You're saying about there was a limit to the number of words. I'm assuming, Lee, you're talking there about the number of words you can actually paste into the box to turn it into text to speech. There is a limit on that. Is that what you're referring to? Yes. Okay. Well, actually, he's right. So what we're doing, just to clarify, on video, you do not need to set up an account. You do not have to pay for anything. We are purely using the free, on the link I gave you, the text to speech. Yeah. You copy your text, you paste it in, you can press a little preview button and you can check that you're happy with it. If you're happy with it, press download and it will download a little MP3 file with the audio. Now there is a limit in the number of characters that you can paste into that box at any one time. And actually, that's really good because remember about chunking, right? So what you're doing here is you're creating the audio for each slide, and the limit of characters on that box far exceeds the number of words you should be loading for any one slide. So if you are trying to load words and it's saying, and you're not able to load them all because of the text limit, you've got too many words on your slide. This is worth just reiterating. You need to chunk, get it down. I can't emphasize enough that keep those slides down to a minimum amount of information so that your presentation moves quickly and you're not exceeding if you're trying to cram too much information on any one slide, it's going to get messy. It's going to be difficult for the learner. It's going to be difficult for you to produce it. So keep those slides down to that chunked limit. And if you do that, there will be no problem with, so there's another comment. It wasn't a problem. It let me do about 6 slides and stop me doing it. Okay, I will check into that. I've just done a dozen or so this morning, Lee, and it didn't stop me, but I will look at that and see whether there's a limit on the free element. Again, just worth making the point that text-to-speech technology it's freely available out there, and it's using a Google API, so it's out there. I will double check it on that.
Ian, just on video, when you want a pause between lines,
yes,
something you do directly into the website, or I mean, I've tried adding spaces and commas to try and paste it, but it just charges through.
That's a very good question, Dave. So thanks for asking that. So so to get your pacing, the number one thing is remember to put full stops. If it doesn't have a full stop, it doesn't recognize it as the end of a sentence. And even if you've got a line or two in between it, if there's no full stop at the end, it will just carry on to the next line as though it's part, and it will just read it out as one long sentence. The other thing is it does recognize also commas. So if you put a comma in, it gives it the understanding that is a pause in the sentence. So commas and full stops are essential. And another little trick is if you want a slightly longer pause between a couple of sentences, then just on the following line under it, just put a space full stop. And you could put a couple of those space full, and it will just give you an extra pause in the audio.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Just a comment, Ian.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Please,
just a comment. I using the principles we've used over the last few sessions, I actually took some of my existing superb presentations, went through them on the number and word count, and actually removed a massive amount of words as a result of what we did. It's quite amazing, actually, when you go back.
Yep.
Could you hear that? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And that's a brilliant bit of learning there, Keith. And I hope that's helpful to everybody.
Brilliant.
Because, it's Winston Churchill, one of my favorite, for quotes. A famous quote from him said, "I'm writing you a long letter because I haven't had time to write you a short one." And so it's one of those life's paradoxes that short and simple is not easy. You have to actually work at the short, simple version. Long and complicated is easy. Anyone can, bang away at the keyboard and get thousands of slides, but that's too much complexity, too much information for the learner. By going through your slides and see what you can take out and pare it down, and by chunking slides, that's a first step towards that. Like, what is this slide actually about? Right, chunk it. That's my point there. Next slide. What is this about? And keep each slide to one point effectively, or one piece of information. And the main simple thing is keep the amount of information to a minimum. So as you go onto, and I've reviewed a number of your PowerPoints this week and sent you some feedback. You had some great bullet points. It was laid out. You had it all nicely laid out, but there was still tending to be on a number of slides a bit too much information. And also, when you go to visuals, you want some space for pictures, frankly. So if you've got a whole slide crammed full of bullets, you don't have any space for anything else. So if you've got like 3 or 4 bullets with a bit of audio, you've then got plenty of space to bring in whatever illustration you want to accompany that. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Any other issues? So we've talked about video. We've reminded ourselves about, and I will just confirm that point about whether there is a, some of these free services do sometimes have a counter that you can only do so many cycles per hour, but I will check that one out. And if that is an issue, I'll give you a link to another service. So we talked about video, we talked about chunking. I believe, Dave, that you've managed to go the whole cycle, have you not? You've actually done your export, loaded it and published as an e-learning, is that correct?
That's correct. I actually passed my own test. So. Yeah, it worked. I did have a little bit of a hiccup at the beginning.
Yeah.
The sequence of when you load the video, Rania put me right via email. Thank you, Rania. And yeah, it's really now to work out, you know, how it all goes together, build one and play with the setup really.
Yeah, but you've gone end to end basically there.
Lovely, thanks.
What did you say, Rania? Sorry?
I said no problem anytime.
Okay.
Sorry.
Right. So if you are up for it, Dave, why don't have you got your PowerPoint that you produced there? Have you got that handy?
Yeah.
Do you want to share your screen and show us what you've produced there?
I will. As I said to you, I did muck up the audio a bit,
Yeah, no,
so
don't worry, don't worry.
bear with me. And I've just downloaded one of them on video. So
Okay,
yeah,
brilliant.
happy to
Yeah, brilliant.
share. Just give me a sec. Share screen. Can you see?
Yes, we can see. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you want to go into slideshow?
Yeah, and play from start. Oh,
Yeah.
didn't work. Try again. Again, dodgy picture just straight off of Google Images.
No worries, no worries.
So it's just front screen and then.
Are you able to go into slideshow and do the slideshow, or is it not working like that? That's just.
It's on. It should be. I'm just doing it on the. There we go.
Okay, your screen is just it's frozen for me. Is it working for you, Rania?
No, Dave, if you have more than one monitors in front of you, we can only see the one with the PowerPoint, not the presentation.
Ah.
Okay. The audio side, can you not hear that as well?
We
hear
can
the
vaguely
audio.
hear something, but we can't see the actual presentation going through.
All right.
Got a fancy double screen setup there, have you, Dave?
Yeah. Give me a sec.
No worries.
Try, I guess, from beginning.
There we go. We're seeing your PowerPoint now. Just turn up your computer audio.
Yep.
Okay. Installation of electrical containment. Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there? Have you put? I can see there's an audio file. Is it? Have you animated that to play?
It's playing my end. It may be. I'm not. I can hear it, but obviously.
Okay. Is this the video audio you've got going there?
It is, yeah. Hang on.
Have you loaded this to the e-learning system then?
Yeah, this one, but not with the video, I should say. So
that's fine. I'll tell you what then. Why don't we? If you just stop sharing your screen, Rania, can you just log into Dave's account and just access, or you could do it, Dave. Log into your e-learning account and show us what you've loaded.
Sure. All right.
I can try.
Dave's going to do it, I think. You up for that, Dave?
Yeah, I'm just doing it now. Can you still see on?
We're still seeing your PowerPoint. I tell you,
Yeah.
let's stop
Oh,
sharing your
yeah.
screen, Dave, because
All
I think
right.
there might be a problem with your displays. Rania, you share your screen and log into Dave's account, and let's have a look.
Yes, let me just log into his account first and then share my screen.
Yeah, no worries.
Sure.
It's taking me a few seconds.
There was one other one, Ian, while we're just
please.
waiting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've managed to load it up previously and put questions and everything in, so I don't have many issues with that. But, you know, the animations and how we did timings, so they start like with previous.
Yes.
What seemed to happen with where the hand comes in and draws the symbol.
Yes.
If you put with previous, I lost the timings of how the hand went, so everything come together.
Yeah.
And I think I've just cured that this morning by saying start after, rather than start with previous then delayed.
Yeah.
But I say that gave me a lot of trouble at first because I'd already got these in my presentation. So as soon as I tried changing my timings to make it like a video, I lost the sequence of everything.
Yeah. So it's a good point. So just to clarify, in your animation options, you've got with previous and after previous. And as they suggest, if you put with previous, they all come in together. After previous, it will work, and you've got them queued one after the other. As you've suggested, there's also the delay function. So you can actually bring them all in together, but put a delay in, and that kind of does the same function as after. So you just got to play around with it. The thing I would say is the pointer. You're talking about where the hand animation comes in with the text.
Yeah, that's it, where it draws the line, and they're all already set up to delay after each other.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's sometimes that's not a hugely complex animation, but if you've got a sequence of bullets and you've got that in the middle somewhere, can get a bit messy, Matt. The way I'd like you to think about those pointers is stick to the main message of your slide, either graphically or your bullets. And those pointers are good kind of like afterwards, you know, as an afterthought, as to say, right, okay, remember this. It kind of is a reinforcer at the end rather than in the middle. That will make your main bullets a lot easier to kind of handle.
Yeah, I think what it was, because I was trying to get the whole thing to play as a full video. So I'd set my timings between slides. So I was trying to get, you know, everything coming one after another.
Yeah.
And because I was doing all with previous, as soon as the pointer come in, that sort of just come up as one item and lost the effect of the pointer.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I mean, again, what I would say is to everybody is keep it simple. Don't get too complicated. You're already achieving a heck of a lot of great things, you know, so chunking your information down, keeping it simple, adding a few graphics, using maybe a little bit of morph. If you can get some audio in here, that's great too, but then get that up there and let's see this actually working. If you make it too complicated, too polished, you're going to spend days and days on this, and that's not the idea. The idea is let's get this out quickly. You know, reasonable is good enough here, as long as it's legible and it's clear for the kind of things like method statements and risk assessments and policy documents. It's good enough. It doesn't have to be a kind of a Hollywood production.
Ian, just on playing the video on their phone, on the app rather, I tried to play it from my login QR reader, but it didn't recognize it. Is that, should that be on a general third-party version, or
Just say that again for me, Dave, please.
the QR reader for
Yeah.
the training?
Yes.
When I try to access it on the app on the phone, I open my Human Focus app on the phone, tried to read it with the QR reader there, but it wouldn't access it.
Right.
Is that...
So just to clarify, what Dave is talking about is, and we will look at this next week.
Oh, sorry,
But
jumped
that's
again.
all right. I'll answer the question now. Is that the system automatically creates a QR code for each of the folders that you create on the system. And one of the things we're going to look at next week is how you can use those QR codes to post your stuff out onto walls and onto machines or in documents. The first question is, Dave, did you scan the code from within the Human Focus app rather than a general QR scanner?
Within the app.
Right. So the second question is, you have to have been, you as a user have to have been assigned that training program in order to access it.
It was assigned to me. I actually did it on the desktop and then tried it on the phone, but it wouldn't
All right,
let
no
me
worries.
in.
Randy, if you just make a note of that, and we'll just take a quick look at Dave's program that he's set up, and we'll just check why. Just check that QR code is working, and then we'll look at that next week, Dave.
Okay.
Lovely, thanks.
I'm able to share my screen now and go through that now. I'm sorry, I was having problems earlier.
Okay, go on then.
Okay.
Are you in onto Dave's?
Yes, I am.
Go on then.
So this is David's account.
Yeah.
So I'm going to e-learning. Is it this one, Dave?
That's it, yeah.
Okay. And I'm just going to click on view.
Yeah.
And click on play. Can you hear the video?
It doesn't start quite yet.
Okay.
And there's a bit out of sequence
All
in
right.
this.
It's a good first effort.
Can you hear it? I can't hear any audio.
Are you hearing it, Aranya?
I can, but very vaguely. It's not very good. Let me just...
Right, I think there's an issue with Zoom meeting then. Not all of these online. I've never actually done shared video on Zoom. It may be that it just won't play it through Zoom. So, I mean, fabulous. Well done, Dave, for getting end to end. You've done all the basics. You've exported it as a video. You've got the hang of the audio. You've loaded it. You've got questions in that. That's brilliant. So you've been end to end. So the process now is fine tuning your skills.
Sure.
To just tidy a few things up and make it even more effective. The other thing I would point out is with the questions, we're going to look at these and just briefly. I think it's better if you basically create additional sections. So just keep your video to one section, create a new section, put your questions for that video in a set, so they don't appear at the same time. You can do it that way. It's not a major
problem. I agree with what you're saying. I just didn't know how at the time.
No worries. I'm just pointing out. So when you do it, put your video, new section, question or questions, new section, next video, and so on, and you just build it that way.
Sure.
But congratulations, Dave. Well done. You've got the basis there of a very powerful little tool that you can use to get your method statements and risk assessments and all the documents out. And I like, some of this graphics looking good, very visual. I know you've just used whatever because you're on furlough, you've used whatever you've got available. But again, next week, we're going to look at another tool that's really going to ramp this up and give you an ability to get your own bespoke videos into this from your own workplace. But well done, Dave. Really good.
Thanks.
So this demonstrates to everybody else. I know Lee, sorry, Matt, you're already kind of familiar with loading stuff, and so you're happy to get to this kind of stage, yeah?
Yeah, happy with that. Sent it out to all the workforce as well assigned, which I think about 80% have done it at the minute and done the questions. But the first one I did was just a PDF. It was like a slides question. It was nothing like what we're looking at now.
Yeah.
So, but I've done the process and it works and the questions get answered. So yeah.
Brilliant. Brilliant. I saw a very neat little bit of morph there, Dave. The man flying into the book. How cool was that?
Yeah. Go.
Looks really good. No, this is just brilliant. Well done. I see you start to play around with the toolkit and using some of the animations and signs. Fabulous.
As you say, it's just practice and playing with it, and mainly it's the timings and getting stuff in the right place. If you can, or we get a minute to go through with Rania about the sequence of loading and setting up the questions, all that would be great.
Yeah, okay, well, let's do that now then. So let's pause that, Rania. Why don't you, if Rania, go into your own account, and let's have a look at, whilst you're doing that, I'm going to, if you stop sharing, if you want to get set up to do a demo of the questions, I'm just going to do just a brief introduction to some of the theory behind questions. You just increase this. So I'll just take, you. 300%. Everybody see my screen okay?
Yeah. Wow, yeah.
So this is one of our internal documents that we have systems for everything, and everything we do is systematized, and this is our system for writing test questions. So I'll just briefly run you through some of this is all based on the science. The first thing I'd like to say about questions is they are not an appendage. They are not an afterthought. They are actually the main event. That's what the science tells us. The key learning actually happens when it's called practice recall. So the act of getting somebody to think, hang on a minute, what was that thing? Oh yeah, it's that. That's where it actually sticks in the brain. So by asking the question, you're helping, it's a key part of the learning, absolutely vital part of the learning. So the video, your presentation, obviously very important to give them the information to begin with. But by asking the questions, you're then getting it into their head to stick. So that's from a learning science point of view. Then, of course, from a compliance point of view, you need evidence that you've asked the question and that you've got a response that is correct for the key bits of information that you want to test for. And I can tell you that many clients, particularly our larger clients, are saving huge amounts of money by the claims defense evidence that they gather through human focus. And they are regularly using the training records as part of, frankly, claims, saying, well, here we have a claim and here is the record, or this is what this person answered. You could see that they had that knowledge, and that clearly disputes the fact that they're saying they didn't understand. So there's a compliance issue and there's a learning issue, and therefore the questions are very important. So let's have a quick look at some of the key elements. This is just what I've said here. You want to chunk it, and you want a section of learning, mini quiz, another section, another mini quiz, and if you do it this way, learning, question, learning, question, that's a good format, and you'll see that in all human focus programs. We typically have an introduction, you know, for the kinds of programs you're developing, the simpler ones, method statements, you may just have an introduction, a section, and an end test. And by end test, the way we typically structure our programs is these we call them in-program questions, are not scored. They're just there to assist the learning. And it's this end test that is actually scored. And it's on the basis of this test at the very end that you pass or fail the training program. But again, that's up to you. It doesn't really matter too much. You can, on Content Builder, you can set it up so that all the questions are scored or only some of the questions are scored. It's up to you. That's about the structure. So just some key points, and they're pretty simple, obvious things, but you know, simple and obvious is not, or simple is not always obvious. First is make sure the answer to your question is clear. So if you ask a question, and you are going to be providing true, false, multiple choice, there can be no arguments about, well, that could be true as well as that. Are you with me? It has to be beyond any reasonable doubt that that is in fact true. Or if you've got a multiple choice selection and say 2 of them are correct and 2 of them are incorrect, and I come up against this regularly with script writers that we work with, particularly newer ones coming on board. They'll write a list of, say, 4, and I'll say, well, those 2 are clearly correct, but these 2, in theory, you could argue they are also correct. So you have to make it dead clear. So when you go down your true, false, multiple choice, just read them and say, is there any way anybody could actually argue that is in fact true, not false?
Yeah, I agree with that, Ian. I agree with that entirely. I've got a sort of an example of that without criticising.
Yeah, go on.
UCATA have got one of those where the latent period for breathing in asbestos fibres to it actually manifesting itself with a condition can be ambiguous. And on their question paper, I very often get the situation where, well, both of those could be right.
Yes, exactly.
You know, and
yeah, I know exactly. I've dealt with a lot of UCATA stuff, so I know the one you're talking about. Yeah. And there's probably a few more in there. Yeah. To be fair, though, it's not easy always to get options that are clearly right and clearly wrong beyond any reasonable doubt. But it is worth just reading down your list, and from a common sense point of view, have I made that, you know, beyond reasonable doubt? And the other one that I would point out is on this clarity is, if you've got a multiple choice list, it's not easy always to come up with, say, it's easy to get your true ones because you just go into your content and go, and I'm going to test that and that. And now I need 2 untrue ones, or false ones. And it's making them false but believable. Are you with me? Yeah. So as you play around with this, you'll see what I mean. It's like, how can I ask something that, I mean, you could ask something ridiculous, but then it becomes, what's the point of that? I mean, it's, anybody would know that that's not true without even watching this. So the idea would be to get false propositions that are linked to the subject and then, is that true or not? And really get them to think.
I've got another one as well, Ian. Sorry to keep it.
Please.
I was working with my grandson yesterday, schoolwork, because he was getting behind, catching up on some of the subjects, and geography was one. And it doesn't really matter what the subject was, but I noticed there were some brilliant ones which the schools use where they have, they show a picture of an estuary, say, because it was geography, and then they show the different aspects to it, and then they ask you some questions, and you touch the bullet points and it fills the black bullet in. Do you get what I'm saying by that? Yeah. And I thought that was fairly good. I mean, a simple thing, and I don't know whether you use that, but I've not seen it before, but I thought it was very good. You know, what the schools are using.
Yeah, that's more of a, less of a test question, more of a kind of a revealing the information. We we don't have that facility at the moment on Human Focus, but I know what you mean.
Yeah.
This is the next one, which is the point about compliance, really. Go through your document, and from a compliance point of view, you just need to ask yourself the question, what are the key bits of information I want some record that they've said that they've understood? You know, I mean, this is health and safety. We want to keep people safe, but there is also a compliance element here. So it's worth going through, you know, if something goes wrong here, if there is a claim, there is an accident, what are the key things I want to be able to demonstrate they've understood? And it shouldn't be too difficult to do that. But again, I see rookie test writers, they go down into the little minutiae, little things that, you know, they are in there, but they're kind of not the main points. You could probably go through your slides and go, that's the main point there, that's the main point. Well, get a test question on it and ask questions for each of your main points. So you've got, even if it's just a simple true or false statement, is it, you know, I should always put on my PPE before I start work, true or false? You know, ask the question. It might sound obvious, but as some of you may know, claims come in for, well, no one told me I should not climb up that ladder with a rung, you know, the ladder rung hanging off. Nobody told me not to do that. So make sure you've got all your key points covered. This is an important one. Make sure that if you do true, false, that you don't have negative propositions in the phrasing of the question. So for example, is it the case that X did not happen? So think about that. So is it the case that that person didn't have an accident? That's kind of like, if you think about that, it's a double mind bend, and it's very difficult for people to get their head around that and then answer. So it's always better to phrase the proposition in the positive, you know, did this person have an accident? Rather than did they not have an accident, if you see what I mean. So always keep your propositions in the positive, not the negative, because it adds a level of complexity that the human brain doesn't, you're not actually testing knowledge there. It's just giving them a piece of information in a way that's hard for them to process. This is important too. Write your questions in simple language. So avoid acronyms. It's okay to test for acronyms if that is the purpose of the question, but other than that, you shouldn't have acronyms in there. You shouldn't have jargon. It should be clear, unambiguous, simple language, because we don't want people going, what are they talking about here? I don't understand the question. There are various simple websites where you can post your text, and it will give you immediate feedback on the complexity of your language, whether you're using simple, clear language. This is one of them. I'll send you a link to a couple. Post it in, and it'll go, this is clear, and it'll give you a score, or this is not clear. So that's a good tip. Where you're using true or false questions, make sure that you don't go all true or all false. You know, true, 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 false, 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 false. Get a mix in there. Again, sounds obvious, but not always. That, you know, it's so often tempting to just making it true, making it true. Yeah, so this is what we tend to do at Human Focus, is we particularly do this in the end test. So where you've got your key pieces of information, the key points, we tend to make them more often than not a true answer rather than a false answer. You know, I should always wear my PPE before starting work or whatever, true. And that then becomes a self-reinforcing learning point. Yeah, I should do that, it is true. That's just that's a stylistic thing, but we think that's important. The number of questions will depend on the length of your course. A short bit of information, 3, 4, 5 slides, maybe only have 2 or 3 questions. If you've got a bigger presentation, you're going to have many more than that. It will really depend on the number of slides. So yeah, just this bit of information here, and I will send you this document so you can read it, but basically it's saying, you know, where do you decide whether you make something true or false, or whether you go to multiple choice? Obviously true or false, simple to write. There's nothing wrong with them. They give you a record that somebody has understood, but the multiple choice will give more of a learning process. They score more highly on learning. So you're getting people to go through some propositions, they have to read them, they have to process the information more, and it gets that recall going. So, you know, I'll give you an example here. Let's say there's kind of like, you know, you've got some bullets like this, regular policy reviews on health and safety, you have benefits, they promote communication, professional development of employees, it includes managers, it can positively increase organizations' public image, it improves standards. So let's say that those are the bullets on your slide. First thing that we've done here is the items in red are the key points. Those would be the things, these are the things we want to test on. So you could go and do a true false on this. So you could go, question, regular policy reviews have a number of benefits that include, and then you list all these out, and then you go true or false. You could do that. That is one way of doing it. Personally, I wouldn't do it that way. I think this is too messy. I think this is then a better way of doing it, where which of the following are benefits of a policy review, and then select as many as you think are correct. And then you list them out, A to D, or more if you want. And you could throw in a couple of bogus ones there into the list. So that's probably a better way of testing that knowledge. So true, false is probably better kept for a simple single proposition, like, you know, I should not use faulty equipment, true or false. Whereas where we've got a list of things like this, better in a multiple choice. And that is about all I want to really say about questions, other than there's one other thing. We have a little crib sheet here to help us in our production. Questions covered in the program content. What that's saying is, are all the main bits of the content, are they covered with a question? The other thing is, if you don't score your questions within the program and you've got an end test, what we always do is we ask the question twice effectively. We ask it within the program to get them to recall it, then we ask it again in the end test. So when they get it in the end test, they're answering it a second time, and that's good because repetition is part of the learning. Some people say, you've already asked that question. And you say, yeah, well, it's about practice and learning. And the more you recall, the better the learning. Questions are written in the simplest way possible. Questions are clearly correct or incorrect. Questions makes logical and grammatical sense. And these are just some examples. The only other thing I would point out is it's always good to put in some guidance information like this. So if you've got a multiple choice, you see here, select 3 correct answers. This is generally good practice. So it may be that you know, there's only 1, it may be there's 3. It's good to give them a clue. Or if you don't want to put a precise number on it, you could put select as many as you think are correct. So, but to have some guidance information is helpful. Okay, that's it then. Any observations, comments, questions about that?
What about the sort of questions you get where people will say 3 right answers, but then have all of the above as like the 4th answer? Yeah. Because you're not saying that 3 are wrong, so they could be right. But, you know, going off what you've just said, that'd be like a wrong approach, really, wouldn't it?
I agree. I don't like those questions, and they always smack me as being lazy. They smack me as being, I can't be bothered to come up with a fourth option, so I'll just put all of the above. And as you say, Matt, it's ambiguous because you could argue, well, they are also correct. Is that, you know?
They are all right, yeah. So you do get quite a them turning up, especially in inductions.
Yeah.
You soon get them. Yeah.
I'd avoid those and make, you know, clearly, you know, if you've got 4 options and, you know, 3 of them are correct, 2 of them, whatever the number, just make sure they're all different, and then you've got it. Okay, any other questions?
If I may, a tricky way around it is to say select as many answers you think are correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. That's
skip
great.
all of the above.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, so are you ready to give us a demo then, Rania?
Yes.
Right, so what Rania's going to do now is just take us through the different question options on Content Builder. And we're also going to look at some of the graphical options that are available. So go ahead and share your screen, please, Rania, and give us a demo.
I have shared my screen. Can you see it?
Not at the moment.
Okay. I don't know if, Ian, you need to stop sharing yours. And I have shared my
Yeah.
screen.
It's me. Sorry.
There we go. Yeah.
There we go. My fault. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Is everyone seeing my screen now?
Yeah. All good.
Perfect. So I'm going to use an existing course. I'm going to click on edit an existing course. And I'm going to move straight away to step 2, which is building your training. So this is an existing training.
Can I just jump in there just 1 second, Rania, before you get in? So just everybody remember that those you see on the right-hand column, the darker grey banners, it says introduction and policy. Those are sections. So what we said earlier, Dave, is you create a section with 1 video underneath, then create another section with following it with your questions and so on.
Gotcha, right.
Carry on, please, Rania.
Good. So all I'm going to do now, I'm going to add another section and I'm going to name it Knowledge Test. Okay. And on this section, I'm going to add questions. So this is the questions that I have used this far in this course. So if I want to, I can add this question again, but this time.
Can I just jump in there? Just go back just 1 second, Rania.
Yeah.
So just to, as a reminder for everyone, the middle column is all your media. So as a reminder, we've got videos, questions and documents. So Rania's clicked on questions here, and you've got 2 tabs there. One is questions that you've used in this particular program. And if you click on full bank, you'll see all the questions you've ever created on all your programs that you can.
Right. From everything then, from like a full library.
Correct.
Right, okay.
So you can reuse questions if you want to from one program to another.
Okay.
Sorry, carry on, please, Rania.
No, that's absolutely fine. So what I did when I created this course, this question here is not scored. But this question here, which is the same, I will make sure that it is scored this time, like what Ian was demonstrating earlier. So let's click on Add New Question. So we will see the interactive question now, which I believe is something very interesting, and I don't know if any of you have tried to use it. This question will enable me to use a picture with drag and drop options as a question. Oh, sorry, not my emails. Okay, so what I will need to do is click on Browse and find the background picture that I want to use.
So just as a tip here, everybody, so what you're doing is you're loading an image off the top off your computer. So what you can do as a very simple test question is just take a screen grab of one of your slides with your images on, and that becomes your part of your test question. And as you'll see in a minute, you can then use this as a graphical question at the end of your video. So carry on, please, Rania.
Yes. When you're uploading a picture, the first thing the system will ask you to do is to crop the picture and size the picture. So I'm going to try and zoom into the icons as much as possible so I can have a clear image.
So
when I'm ready,
whatever is within those little squares is what will appear as your question, your graphical question.
yeah, and you can also move that around.
So
when
if you
you're
don't want the whole picture, you can crop in on a part of it, for example.
And when you're ready, you just click the tick button to finalize your picture.
Yep.
The next step would be to create your draw or areas. So you need to create.
The technical term we use for these is targets. So we've got markers and targets. So you create targets that your markers will go on to. So these are the targets. In other words, the bit they have to aim for with their marker. And you can create as many targets as you want, but typically with human focus programs, we will not do more than 4 would be probably as many as we would go. We do have a few that are more than that, depends on the picture, but 3 or 4 is probably as many as you want. So Ranya's going to create 4 targets here over each of the 4 elements.
You can also resize those targets at any time. So I'm just selecting the full picture for now. And then what I'm going to do, I have the question ready here. So I'm going to copy my question and put it here as the title. And then I can choose between the marker type that I want. So a single marker is only when you want the trainees to point out the correct answer. But you can also have markers with text or images as markers. Now, because I have images as my layout, I'm going to select markers with text.
So just to clarify the differences between that, marker only is probably where you're just going to have one target and it's one marker, and you're going to go put this over the correct thing or item, because it's just going to be a little round thing like that on its own.
Yeah.
If you've got multiple targets, you're going to need to have a way of differentiating each marker can only go on one target. It's a one-to-one relationship. So you've got to be able to say, this marker, where would you put it? So it's going to have text. Alternatively, you can match images with images, which we'll see in a minute. But at the moment, we're going to go markers with text. So please carry on, Rania.
Yes. So I have copied my answer, and you need to type the text of the marker here. You can select font size, and you can make it bold or normal. And then create your marker. Similarly, I can create the other 3 markers as well.
So while you're doing that, Rania, I'll just explain. So what Ranya's doing now is creating the 4 markers, putting the text on, and as she said, you can change the text. And then in a second, what we're going to do is match the marker to the target when we've got the 4 in there.
And the last one.
One more, yeah.
So I'm just recreating a question that we are already using in one of our courses, just to show you how you can do that. So the first marker answers faulty equipment, which will link to the A3 area. To do that, I need to click on the linking option and select the area that I want the correct answer to appear. Hot surface will go to the area A1. Sparks will go to the area A4, and overloaded electrical supply to the area A2. And let's mark this question as well.
And that's pretty much it, I think, isn't it, Rania, on that one?
Yes, we're ready now.
So just to re-emphasize that, sorry, just go back, Rania.
Yeah, that was a preview. I was just showing.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, just hang on a second.
Oh, sorry.
So the little score slider there, if you slide that over, what that means is it will count towards the end test mark. If you don't slide that over, it'll just be a test question. They'll get feedback, true, correct, not correct, but it won't count towards the end test. So it's up to you which questions you want to form towards the end test. So show us the preview then, Rania.
So this is how it will look like. I cannot try and answer the question on the preview, but we will see in the end test how it will look like.
So you can see there, what do you think? See there, you can very, very rapidly build some interactive drag and drops, which would be very difficult to answer just purely with text. I think you'd agree.
Actually, and that's a bit like what I was talking about the schools. That's actually, I probably didn't convey myself very well, but that's really what the schools were doing. And that, I thought that was very good, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
when you,
right.
sorry, carry on.
No, I'm just saying that's great. Yeah, I'd tried to do that before and I couldn't work it out. So I'm glad we've gone through that.
Brilliant. I mean, what you can do, and this becomes really powerful, is go into your workplace and take a photograph of your workplace. And then you could go, you know, what are the hazards you see in this workplace? You know, what would you change, or what are the issues here? And they've got to match, you know, from an actual workplace that they're working in, and they're dragging markers over. I mean, it does not get, I think I said this clearly at the beginning, in terms of changing behavior, it's got to be context specific. It's got to be their job, their place of work, and this makes it possible very quickly.
Yeah, brilliant.
Right, so let's have a quick look at the other text-based options, Rania, if we may.
Yes, so we have a single selection or multiple selection text-based questions. So if I select single selection, let me just check. I can use this picture. Okay. A simple question would be, can you spot a hazard? Just a general question, and then you can type in yes or no. Again, if you want to score this question, this time you can enable the scoring option, and you will also need to mark the correct answer.
So the other point to make is that you can actually give different weightings to your scores. So you just select on the score drop down, Rania, next to yes.
Yes. So it's none if you don't want to score it, and 1 if it is
Correct.
a scoring answer. And I can also add more options.
Ian, just a quick question. In our training accounts, there's how-to documents on the system.
Yeah.
Will these be uploaded to that, or will we get these separately?
Say that again, please.
Sorry. In our training profiles, under documents, you put a lot of the how-to guides for the system.
Mm-hmm.
Will these ones for the content builder be in there as well going
Good
forward?
question. We are definitely not right away. This is all brand new stuff. Rania is actually building, there's already a lot of online help. We're moving to online pages. And Rania's putting videos in there and little GIF animations of so we're moving more towards online pages like that. We're also moving towards, Rania's just done a great set of videos about how to use different parts of our system.
I saw that link she sent us. But will that be, is that something we should keep, or will that be accessible for our training accounts?
It will all be accessible. If you just want to go to your help system, Rania, if you click the help button down there, it takes you through to here.
All right.
And if you click on, search on something like, there you go, content builder, see all these help pages here.
Perfect. Yeah.
So there's a whole section about the questions and how you create them.
So just give it an example page, Rania, to show what they look like.
The single selection these are the steps, and this is the GIF file that shows you the steps as well.
Yeah.
Just by the way, everybody, there's something, we didn't invent this, right? But there's something magical about these kind of help pages. They're a cross between a video and a written document, and they work really, really well. Because with a video, the videos are great because you watch them, but they can be even a 5-minute video. So, oh, where was that thing again? And how do I do that? With a written document, it's better because you can scan up and down it and go, oh, it's that. But you don't get a sense of exactly which button do I press where. Whereas what you're seeing here is a cross between the two. You've got that simple list.
Yeah.
And unsurprisingly, we chunk. So each page just deals with one little step in the process. It's all there. And you've got a little GIF animation that just keeps repeating itself over and over and over. And you can see, oh, yeah, okay, I click that, I do that. Then go to the next chunk and the next chunk. So these work really well. If you'll see these on any modern software service website now, and this is the format we also use. So this is all, everything Ranya's showing you is all up on these help pages. Okay, Rania, let's finish off the text. We were doing single select.
Yes. So, sorry for my spelling mistake.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can add more options as well. And you also have the option to allow comments and questions that will appear on your question and answers reports that you can run as managers of the account. So you can preview to make sure that everything is correct, and then save your questions. So once you create all the questions that you want, you can just drag and drop and build your knowledge test. Just to mention that on the single and multiple selection questions, you also have the option to create an image selection. So you can ask a question, upload multiple photos, and then the trainees can choose the correct answer.
So it could be, you know, which one of these 3 arrangements is the correct setup of that machine or PPE or whatever. You've got 3 images and only one of them is correct.
I can just do this for now because I have some cropped pictures of a multiple items picture that I'm using, just to show you how it can be used.
So you'll be able to show us what it looks like, yeah?
Yeah. So you can make things more visual. And if you enable scoring, you need to mark again the correct answer, which is select the ruler, this is the ruler, preview, this is how it will look like, back and save, and then we can see how this will look like in the end test as well. So when you're ready creating all your sections, you can just click next and go to the end to publish the course to make it available online. At the moment, this is what we created. Now, what I have done here, this is something that is currently being developed. I have done what Ian was explaining earlier. I have activated a setting that we are currently developing, which is the mini questions, like the mini quizzes, will appear after the video, and I don't have to create an extra section. If this is something that you're interested in, you can let me know, and I can activate that for you in the back end. So when the video will end.
So did you just say they automatically come up? You don't have to click onto the next section.
Momently, you have to create a new section, and then which is not a big deal. You know, you just click new section and put knowledge test for this section and put your questions in. What Ranya's saying is, if you want to, we can, at the moment, we will get a, not too distant, there'll be a button and just say, automatically put questions after you're learning content. So you won't just have, it just saves you that little job.
Right, I'm with you. Okay.
But if you want that right now, we can set it on the back end. In the future, you'll just be able to click that button yourself.
Yeah.
So now that the video has ended, if I click on next, I will see the mini quiz rather than going to another section. this is how it will look like in the near future. And now the second section is the document that I can click on next, sign, save, next. And now this is the knowledge test.
So this is what Rania just created, yeah? You recognize this?
Yeah.
Let's see if I can get this right. This is how the interactive question looks like. And this is the picture selection on a single selection question.
We've got a slight problem there. We've got an ambiguous set of questions there. 2 sets of scissors. Oh, anyway, I mean, what do you think, guys? I mean, this is
Very good.
Good.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
stuff, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
very good. I
Right.
did my,
And it's easy. This is, once you've done one of these, you'll be doing it. I mean, it takes minutes to create those questions. The harder part, frankly, is going through your content and deciding what questions you want to ask, getting the content decided. Once you've got that, the actual technicality of building those questions and posting them out there is actually, I hope you agree, a piece of cake, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Can I just ask,
Yep.
the very first part, when we upload the video, when we go into Content Builder,
Yep.
am I right to say I did it because it was there, create new e-folder and then go on from there?
Yeah, so you basically always have to go into an e-folder. So you can go into an existing e-folder that you've already got and add an additional program or whatever it is you want to add to that. Or you could go into an existing e-folder and edit an existing e-learning program. Or you can create a brand new e-folder.
Yeah,
You see there at the top right that Rania just clicked it.
that's it. Yeah,
Create a new e-folder, give it a name, upload the icon that you want, the logo that you want to appear on it, and off you go.
sure.
You know, while you're making amendments to that e-folder, let's say you've got putting multiple courses in there,
Yeah.
are the ones that you've already done still available? Say you were working on it all day, for example,
Yeah.
and putting different things in, would everyone still be able to access what you've already published?
But the key point is this: when you press publish, at that moment there, it's instantaneous. So if you're editing an existing program, when you press publish, anybody coming in, anybody who started will finish what they've started. But anybody starting that course from that moment will get what you've just published.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you.
Right.
So at the moment, when you publish any folder, all the items under the folder are visible. So, and there's no option to save as a draft.
Yeah.
But because you can assign courses through training control, if a course that you're currently developing are not assigned through training control to users, then they won't see it until you're finished and assign it to the users.
So you can control it that way. Okay.
Yes.
So in other words, create your e-learning program. But even if you're only halfway through, just save it, but don't assign it out, and then just work it. Once you're happy with it, then you assign it out.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, that is it
Right.
for today.
Brilliant.
very
Okay.
good, Ian. Very good. Thank you.
So your challenge now is get something up there. I think Dave, you've already done it. I think Matt, you've already know how to do this anyway. So, but let's get something up there, even if it's just a test video, but then have a play with putting some questions in. Obviously, if it's real content, it will force you to think about what questions do I want to ask. But get a few variants in there. Get a true, false, maybe a multiple choice text, and then an image question, maybe one of the drag and drops. Get those in. So then you've got the whole process then in one place. You've got some content, you've built it, you've loaded it, put some questions in, and then got the complete process. And so that's the challenge for this coming week. Get some questions in there.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks very much,
Ian.
Ian. Thank you.
So
Well done. And Rania.
the process,
Thank you.
the process is, if you've got any questions, it would be helpful to just stick to email support with Rania. Because what I want you to do is, if you do have a, like, I can't get any further with this, bring it to the group, and the group can learn from that, and we'll just discuss it in next week's session, okay? So don't worry if you haven't managed to get it all done, that's fine. Bring it to the session and we can discuss it, and we'll fix it in the group.
Yeah.
Right.
By all means, drop Rania, where's this? How do I do this? She'll drop you a link to a help page or point you in the right direction. If it's too complicated, bring it to the group.
I think the only thing I was going to say, I think what slowed me down, because I spent a good few hours sort of beginning of the week,
yes,
was amending an old PowerPoint. I think
right.
I'd have been much better just starting from scratch, you know, like when you were building it,
yep.
setting my slides up more first and the other, but trying to amend everything I've already got really slowed me down. So I think moving forward, I'll just start from scratch. Yeah.
From scratch. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So next week, so you know what next week is about is we've got a little app which we call Create Training App, which is a video app where you can edit a video as you're actually building it in real time. And we've used this very successfully to capture skills-based videos in the workplace. So, you know, you can go into a workplace and actually have somebody demonstrate a task or a way of doing something, and you can capture that video fully edited in minutes. And you can load that to Content Builder directly. You can also download it and put it in a PowerPoint and then reload it. So we'll look at that. So what this is going to do next week is really flesh out the content with some live video of from your workplace, from your context. So that's what we'll explore next week, plus any issues that you've had this week. But by the end of next week, you'll be there and all content ninjas.
Yeah, brilliant.
Right.
All right.
Cheers, guys.
I look forward
Thank
to
you.
seeing you same time, same place next week.
Very good. Thank you very
Cheers.
much.
Good weekend, everyone.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm just going to stop recording, Rania.
Thank you, Ian. Can you make sure that you will save the conversion on your computer?